Carmelius is smiling through most of this, and she even butts in several times to Stern and clearly makes it obvious that even she's even the one that finally gets him to stop his complete drilling of questions, saying, "You cannot draw blood from a stone, Stern. Please proceed to the next witness." And then Stearns just sort of looks at her with a mild bit of contempt and says, "Very well, Strain, your execution is scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Go to your damnation." And then the stormtroopers sort of lead him off, and Strain is not heard from again. Yep.
Lorgath steps forward at this point.
Yeah, go ahead.
And says, "May I address the court?"
So Stern just sort of looks at you and says, "You have not been called, Sergeant Kuro. Return to your seat."
He just raises a hand and says, as you stated that Strain's execution was be in 2 weeks. I ask that if I am alive in this time, that I may swing the blade itself."
So a lot of whispering goes through the crowd again, and Stern sort of slams his gavel down again and says, "And why would you request such a duty? Are you trying to remove evidence of your damnation from the one witness that could condemn you?"
Say a man of honor should die by a blade of honor. Simple as, my lord.
So a lot of the Space Marines from the Deathwatch were gathered, and even some of the Inquisitors, not wizards or whatever, sort of nod their approval, and Stern just sort of looks and says, "That is to be decided at a later date, and if you should survive to that point, we shall see." Now return to your seat.
I nod my head and step back.
Okay. So, some more minor evidence is provided. You adjourn for a bit. It comes back again. More minor evidence, and the trial goes on and on and on for hours until another key witness is called, and this time is Lord General Ryla Van. And she steps forward and says, "General Van, you have been pardoned for any explicit wrongdoing perceived by you on the world of spite, and it is believed now by this inquest and your own that you merely acted to maintain order and stability as best you could in the world, and for that you should be commended. You have been given interim command of the Canis Salient, is that true?" And then Rylavan sort of bows and says, "Yes, my lord, that is indeed true." You had a great amount of contact with Kill Team Manus and Puritaurus when they were on the world of spite, is that not true? And she sort of bows again and says, "That is indeed true, my lord. Lord Evangrave himself commanded me to be his adjutant in helping them with their inquiries on the world and their time present." So Stern sort of nods and says, "Then you must be quite well informed of their investigation of their deeds in the world, is that not so?" And then Van sort of nods again and says, "That is so, my lord." "So, with all the evidence that has been presented thus far, General Van, do you believe that all the truth has been spoken here?" And then she sort of turns around and looks at you for a moment and says, "I believe that in their hearts, the Astartes believed what they were doing on the world was just cause. Though I must say that the way they instigated their investigation may have left much to be desired. But truly, I do not believe that they are heretics or in any way openly in rebellion against the Imperium." Then Stern just sort of looks to her and says, "Explain." And then she sort of looks at him quizzically for a moment, almost flinching a bit, which you've never seen her do before, as his words sort of cut deep. And she sort of looks at him and says, Their investigations led to a great many revelations on the planet, including that of Tau infiltration. Though as to their interest in getting involved in the affairs of the Astrum Militarum, leave much to be desired. I do believe that Lord Ebengrave may have been," and then she sort of looks at him for a moment, "overzealous in his duties and may have inadvertently, perhaps, caused a great amount of harm to the Astartes investigation, whether justly or not. Though in other cases he did aid them quite explicitly, though he withheld information until asked, among other deeds. I believe they both may have been in the wrong for one reason or another, though it is obviously clear that the loss of Imperial life and assets is a much more damnable case than simple bureaucracy between sections of the Imperium. And then Stern just sort of looks at her and says, I will ask you quite blankly, do you believe that the Astartes of Kill Team Manus and Pluritoris were justified in their actions on Spite? And then she shakes her head and says, I believe that they were heavy-handed and that their pledge to aid the traitors was a undue and miscalculated risk on their part, which led to a great many losses of life. I do not believe that Strain would have been so emboldened or his men so invigorated if they had not have had the perceived backing of the Space Marines. I believe they may have taken it as a religious sanction that the Emperor himself may have given them just cause to do as they did. Then Stern sort of nods and says, "But you do not relent in that you believe that their investigations on Spite were just." And then Van sort of nods and says, "The results speak for themselves, my lord. We have all seen the evidence of the Tau on the planet and their actions. I believe there is nothing else to say but the truth. The Astartes set out to do what they did, and in doing so, they inadvertently got dragged into the affairs of the Astra Militarum on Spite. And as the Astartes so often do, it ended in bloodshed. Nothing more, nothing less." And then Stern sort of nods and says, "So it be noted." And the adept at his side says, "So it is noted." And then he just sort of excuses Van, who goes to sit in her seat. And it's very obviously she left. She was trying to be as neutral as possible, probably for her own career, if you know what I mean. So you guys are left to adjourn for one more day and allowed to return to your cells. So how do you think it's going so far?
Too early to tell, in my opinion.
Not great.
We're fucked.
So
Positivity,
Carmelius,
guys. Positivity.
yeah, Carmelius meets up with you guys later in a small briefing between yourselves and the Dominova again and says, "Well, I believe things are proceeding as best as could be planned in these early deliberations. Ebengrave, while damning, I believe, may have overplayed his hand. His legendary paranoia may have gotten to him again. In being so vehement in his disgust of you as heretics and traitors, he may have simply played into the crowd's hand that he's simply trying to damn you for his own causes, as he himself is now under investigation for dereliction of duty on Spite for allowing the rebellion to grow to the size that it did. So I believe, in the long run, though some may be swayed by his words, very few of any consequence will really believe him. And I believe that Lord Huron, who we truly need to deliver onto our side, will discount or discredit his discussion. I looked over at him several times as Ebengrave was giving his speech, and it became obvious that he believed the man to be something of a blowhard. As for Ryla Van, that was a bit more damning. While she was attempting to be as neutral as possible, it's very clear she, as the commanding officer on Spite after the rebellion, viewed you as some of the main instigators, whether direct or not, of the rebellion, so her words may be more damning, and I believe Huron may believe her words as the complete and utter truth, which may cause additional problems. Though for the most part, I do believe that Strain may be the linchpin on this. The man is going to his death. He has no reason to lie anymore. He's damned whether or not he is innocent or not in the eyes of the Emperor. And Huron may take his last plea for your lives one of two ways. He may simply see it as trying to save his fellow heretics, or perhaps trying to save men he believes to be just. It's hard to judge. So she sort of nods grimly and says, "I suggest you get some rest. Tomorrow could be quite trying on all of us." And with that, she sort of smiles weakly and then leaves again, leaving you guys in your barracks to talk amongst yourselves. So, is there anything you guys want to do?
Not really.
They let us talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, you guys are all in your own cell barracks, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So is there any plan, you guys? Because some of you are definitely going to be interrogated, if you know what I mean. So if you guys want to sort of come up with a common thread of what you're going to say, that could work. Or help, if you know what I mean.
the only thing that I would have to offer, because it's something that I've been thinking about, is that, by defending our decision and our actions, by admitting that it was in and of itself not, not the best decision, but it was either that or it was what we had to do in order to pursue a greater cause, or the bigger threat that we were in pursuit of. So it was.
That is not necessarily the truth, though. By the time we intervened, we already knew where the Tau were. Therefore, that argument will be just swayed aside.
Well, knowing where the Tau are, it wasn't,
We were en route to the Tau when we intervened. Therefore, the argument is damning to us more than anything else.
Okay, cool. So we're all dead. Never mind.
Positivity, guys. Positivity.
Well, give us some positivity then, rather than just the word positivity.
I don't know.
Defend your actions to us.
I don't need to.
Yeah, why did you choose to do what you did, Ollie? Like,
Exactly.
I'm genuinely interested.
Explain it to us.
Out of context as player to like GM and everything else, why did you decide to get involved in the way you did?
I thought, Lorgath thought, that just the execution of 100,000 innocent soldiers was a waste of resources, and that Ebengrave was, quite frankly, a terrible leader and should not be in charge of those men.
So you thought he was insane, and
yeah.
Okay, I guess it's justified, but
it's not our call to make.
Yeah, you did know that getting involved was going to be like, it was going to cause issues, right? Because the Imperium is really iffy about Space Marines getting involved in like the running of the Imperium and stuff. So
I didn't actually know the idea that if a Space Marine gets involved, a trial is held. But oh well.
It is when someone as august as like your veteran kill team who, there's legends being spoken about you guys and your journey to Samek and everything. Now you guys have you're quite legendary in the Jericho Reach, if you know what I mean. So right. even a hint of the instigation of like heresy, it's basically like if like some hero of like a chapter like Marnius Calgar was found like conducting a blood ritual or something. You know what I mean? It's obvious. Yeah. Weird shit's going to go down, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They're very touchy about the Space Marines ever since the Horus Heresy. You know what I mean? Because when a Space Marine falls to chaos, bad things happen very quickly. So they watch that shit like a hawk, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you got involved in something of a large scale thing. So, all right. So if you guys have nothing else to discuss, the day passes and the next day begins. In the evening, the trial commences again. You guys are once again pushed into the now almost swelling room as several more Inquisitors and members of the Deathwatch and the Inquisition have showed up for this meeting, as well as a few more witnesses of minor interest show up as well. Eventually, the Grey Knights come out again, slam their force halberdiers on the ground, and call everyone to rise for Grand Inquisitor Lothar Stern again. And once again, the trial begins anew. And this time, it starts off immediately with a bang. The first person that is straight up called is Diaz Lan. And Stern calls him to the stand and says, Diaz Lan of the Rogue Trader House Lan, you have been a adjutant and attachment of a civilian military purpose to the Ashless Crusade for a great many years now, is that not so? And Lan bows quite deeply in his long fur coat and sort of says, That is true, my lord. It has been my great honor to aid in this great endeavor of the Imperium and the Jericho Reach. And it has been my great honor to know a great many heroes in that time, including Kill Team Manus Imperatoris. Then Stern just sort of nods and says, Yes. Is it not true that you aided this kill team when they were but neonites to the Deathwatch, and when their number consisted of a great many different members, except those of Uhl, Sarlacc, and Uriel, and in fact the legendary leader of their team on their journey to Samek, Castor? who gave his life in the defense of the Imperium, and may now watch on with disgust at the actions of his brothers. And then Lan sort of nods and says, "Yes, it was indeed my pleasure and somewhat discomfort to aid them in their first mission to the world of Arm and bringing it into the Imperium. And how do you believe they conducted themselves on the... Yeah, I remember Lucius as well. That's why he said other August members who are no longer with them. How do you believe they... Yeah, and those other guys, like that dumbass. How do you believe they... conducted themselves while they were attempting to bring the world of Arm into the Imperium? And then Lan says, "I believe they behaved rather brashly and without much concern for justice, my lord." And then Stern sort of looks at him and smiles and says, "Please continue." And then for the next, what is about 15 minutes, Lan basically paints you guys almost as renegades and radicals who clearly go out of your way to do things in the bloodiest and most rampant manner possible. He even condemns you for lowering yourselves to the point of conducting yourselves into the Divested Hunt, where you hunted that space dinosaur, if you guys remember, saying you resulted to barbarism and all other means when you should have simply forced the hand of the Arns and everything else. And the more it goes on, the more it's obvious that Diaz-Lan is a master of wordplay, and he is very much on the Stern side, as if he's been paid off or fears him enough, if you know what I mean. And he's clearly been brought here as a material witness on the Stern side. And after a while, he walks away, and he can't even look you in the face, and it's obvious he's somewhat disgusted with himself, if you know what I mean. But he walks off, clearly having painted a damnable picture of you. So yet again, more minor evidence, more conjecture and trials are brought forward, and then finally, the gavel is slammed down again, and a new name is called, and it says, "Ool, brother of the Space Wolves, step forward. We would hear your testimony."
Earl walks forward and kneels.
Okay.
I'll say.
Alright. So Stern indicates that you should stand and that he accepts your reverence, if you know what I mean. And then he says, "Brother Ool, though the entirety of your squad is on trial, know that it is mostly the damnation of Lorgat that is the main pinpoint of this trial. I would ask you, do you believe that your actions on the world of Arm, as you were one of the original members of your squad, were justified? Do you believe that you brought Arm into the Imperium in true ways, and that you did not resort to barbarism and heresy to do so?"
Yes.
So he goes on drilling you for a while, asking you various questions about a great many things, and it becomes obvious he's trying to slip you up. But are you going to stick to that point, that everything you did was honorable and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then he gets to the point at hand, which is obviously clearly what he was building up to. And do you believe that the actions of your brother and your captain on the mission to Spite were justified? Do you believe that Lorgat Kuro was correct in his assessment to join in this debacle with the Imperial Guard?
Yes.
I like the way for a minute there you were like, "Should I kill Ollie?"
Yeah, well...
Okay, so he just says, "Could you elaborate a bit? Could you please describe in your words the events and why you believe he was justified to aid them?"
I believe that Lord Commander Ebengrave was unfit for duty, and that killing 100,000 Imperial Guard was a waste of resources that we were in dire need of.
So you believe he was ill fit for command? Could you explain yourself
Yes.
a bit more on that?
He how should I say this? He ordered executions of 100,000 men and withheld information vital to the Deathwatch.
So Stern sort of looks at you and says, "You believe he impeded your duties, but the evidence proves
Yes.
contrary. Why do you believe he did so?"
I believe that Lord Commander does not trust Space Marines, or is just simply paranoid.
Okay. So Stern is about to say something for a moment before Huron sort of parks up and speaks in, and Huron is looking at you with a great deal of scrutiny, as if he's very interested in your words, and says, Evan Graves' paranoia is legendary, and it is well known among the auspexes of the Inquisition that he's got more than a less than acceptable temperament when it comes to inquests into his running of his salient. Do you believe that his paranoia truly devolved your duties, or do you believe that you were simply honoring the command of your brother Kuro? Do you truly believe, and tell me true, Space Marine, for I will know, that Evan Graves' paranoia and was enough to truly get in the way of duty and may have compromised the world to the Tau?
I will say this: I do believe that it did hinder us, but I will also always follow my alpha.
Alright. So he just sort of nods and says, he doesn't say anything else, he just nods to himself and sort of looks at you judgingly. Stern, sort of looking at Brash that he's been spoken over, sort of knocks the gavel down again and sort of looks you over and says, "Very well, Brother Uhl, that will be all. You may return to your seat." And it's very clear that that did not go the way he wanted it to go. He was hoping you would instigate Kuro.
Mm.
Alright. So more circumstantial evidence is presented, and it continues on for a while until someone else is called, and he says, "Let it be known that the Inquisition calls for Brother Uriel, codificer of the Ultramarines, to account for his actions." And the gavel is slammed again. It says, "Brother Uriel, after having received the order that Sergeant Lorgat, was to stand down, you were given command of Kill Team Manus Imperatoris. Is that not correct?
That it is.
And do you believe that Sergeant Kuro was ill fit for command?"
He was not unfit or ill fit. His chapter is known for taking decisions that he deems fit. But I follow the ultramarine way, the straighter path. So I believed I was good for the mission that we were on last. But he was fated well in our previous mission.
Okay, so Stern sort of looks at you with interest, like he's found something that might hurt Kuro, and he says, "So you believe that Brother Kuro may have in fact given his pledge to to Colonel Strain as an act of honor, and that in his glory-seeking demeanor of his chapter that is quite well known, he may have caused a dereliction of duty."
This is not what I meant. I meant that he makes decisions based on his honor.
So Stern sort of shakes his head and says, "Ultramarine, you are perhaps the most venerated chapter of the Astartes in existence. Tell me truly, do you believe that Kuro's actions were justified? Do you believe that this seeking of glory and honoring of debts truly mattered in the face of the survival of mankind, in the face of the security of spite? You had the Tau in your grasp. Why would you simply circumvent the objective of your duty to go and aid in a affair of the Astra Militarum that was none of your business? Tell me truly as an Ultramarine and swear on your Primarch that you believe his actions were justified."
If we were to fail as a team and the the forces that were being held were destroyed, the planet would have fallen. We did what we must at the time to make sure there was a force that would behind us if we were to fail. I believe, on my Primarch, that Kuro did the right thing.
Okay, so Stern just clearly is not taking this for an answer, and he just sort of looks to you and says, "While it may be very well and true, it is without a doubt that he clearly had a dereliction of duty, and that his choice to, and before he can say any more, he's cut off quite blankly, and you guys hear a rhythmic thumping, sorry, and the doors behind you are rocked open, and coming swaying into the room is someone you did not expect."
It's a Titan.
Boy.
So Brother Solzbeck sort of thumps into the room, and everyone sort of whispers as his large, enormous body sort of thumps past you, past the pews, and stands straight in the center of the room. In fact, a great many people are whispering, and Stern is like almost red-faced as he slams his gavel repeatedly again and again, trying to maintain order. And then Solzbeck just stands straight in the middle of the room, sort of looks up, arching his like large augmetic pistons to look straight up at Stern, and just almost roars out, "Cease this madness!" And he just sort of looks up at Stern and says, "These brothers are honorable men. They freed me from my confinement, and that what they say is just. They acted in the name of the Deathwatch and the Emperor. Their actions were completely justified. This trial is a farce, and all those who follow it are not but fools." And then Stern just sort of like slams his gavel down again, as people are murmuring and talking between themselves, and says, "Brother Solzbeck, you are new to this era of the Imperium. You are not judged to be here. We have not seen fit to call you as a witness, and your testimony will not be valued." And then the adept at the side, he just sort of knocks him and says, the adept just sort of looks up and says, "Will not be added to the register." And then Solzbeck just sort of looks up at him and says, "The Inquisition has always been fools," and then sort of like turns around and just stomps off again.
I give him a high five as he leaves.
Ul smiles at him.
You have to jump pretty high.
Yeah, Adrenal's only like 3 meters. They're like, I could reach.
So after a while, nearly like 10 minutes, it takes forever for the order to be brought back to the courtroom, and you can see Mordegile and some of the watch captains almost smile as he trods off, saying the things that they all kind of want to say, at how pointless and stupid this trial is. But after a while, order is brought back, and Stern sort of looks around, sort of red-faced, clearly out of his element a bit, which is hard to say. Carmelius is clearly smiling a wiry smile, while Huron just looks a bit completely impassive, and you can't really judge what he thinks. Then Stern just sort of, says, "We will bring this arbitration back to order, and we will call the next witness." And he sort of turns to Sarlacc, and he says, "Brother Sarlacc and Leonidas of the Iron Hands, step forward and account for yourself. Let it so be noted." And then the adept at the side says, "Let it so be noted." And then he looks down at Sarlacc and says, "You're one of the oldest members of the kill team Manus Imperatorus, is that not correct?"
This is correct.
"Many legends have passed through the ranks of your kill team. Noble Castor of the Ultramarines, Honorable Lucius of the Dark Angels. Many have died in the line of duty. Do you believe that Kuro has besmirched the name and the honor of your kill team with his action?"
I do not believe he has besmirched our name.
And then he sort of looks at you gravely and says, "Logic is a well-known trait among the Tech Marines of the Adeptus Astartes, among those of the Iron Hands, quite as a matter of fact indeed. Your chapter is a venerated and old one, most honored like the Ultramarines. Tell me true, do you believe that the tactical assessment of Sarlacc in a purely logical and tactical sense, that Kuro's actions on the world of spite were necessary? Do you believe that it was truly justified for him to abandon the quarry you had so sought, the Tau, to go and aid in resolving this rebellion?"
I have spent a long time calculating and asking the same question, and looking at all the odds and and possible outcomes had we chosen a different path. And I have come to the conclusion with 86% certainty and a 0.5% margin of error that while you cannot perhaps say his actions or his choice was ideal, in the end, it was perhaps the better thing. And while we were in pursuit of the Tau threat on the planet, Eben Graves' own personal and fanatical pursuits were detracted from the real threat on the planet, and therefore an end to that was ultimately beneficial.
Okay, so he just looks at you, and it's obvious that the adepts have like noted down in quite lengthy detail your evaluation, and he says, "So you believe truly in cold logic that his actions were justified? Then, are these the words of logic, or are they the words of those who stand by his brother? That remains to be seen. I will ask you one more question and one more question only, Sarlog. Do you believe that this threat we now face, the one that your kill team is investigating with utmost certainty, do you believe that Kuro is trustworthy enough to continue his journey among your ranks, or do you believe he needs to be replaced and dealt with? Do you believe he is a detriment to the effectiveness of your kill team?
I don't believe he is a detriment. However, I will admit that he needs refinement. He has weaknesses that can be polished.
The flesh is weak. Yeah.
A few cybernetics would do him some good.
Okay, so they note it down, and then you note that Huron is also looking on you with something of interest again, and he pipes up to talk again and says, "I have great respect for the Adeptus, the Astartes of the Iron Hands. I have served with them in more than one campaign, and I have always found their tactical thinking and logic to be, and pure pursuit of justice and vindication, a great idealistic synchronarity to my own. I will take your testimony into great consideration, Iron Hand." And he sort of looks at you, not even breaking a smile. He's quite neutral, and he sort of looks down again and says, "But you do admit that he does require some refinement, as you put it, yes?"
He does require refinement.
So Huron just nods slowly and says, "That is all I have to ask." Then Stern just sort of bemused at the question, sort of looks up and says, "Very well, that will be all. Return to your seat." Okay. So they then call forward Inquisitor Solus Deshane, who steps forward alongside Sister Piety. And Stern just says, "We've only called you, Lady Deshane. We do not require this sister to accompany you." And then Deshane sort of bows and says, "Forgive me, my lord, but she's a key testimony and my counter witness in this arbitration. I feel it would be unjust if she was not called to the stand as well." And then Stern just says, "This is without a doubt the most ill-founded thing that I could possibly have perceived right now. You know the customs and jurisdictions of the Inquisition. I must insist that." And then Carmelius just sort of puts up her hand and says, "Stern, allow her to speak. We have voted and we have agreed that this is the way it must be. All material witnesses and evidence will be permissible, regardless of stature or rank." And then Huron just sort of looks up and says, "It is as we have agreed, Stern." Stern just sort of like goes red-faced and sort of looks and says, "Very well." And Deshane just sort of bows and says, "My lords, thank you," looking between Carmelius and Huron again. And she sort of then starts to give off her account, and she gives a glowing report of your aid on Eleusis, your purging of the Tyranid Vanguard organisms, which she assures the Council no one else could have rooted out and purged in time, You're self-sacrifice and attempting to aid, almost to your own deaths when your land speeder crashed, if you guys remember, in aiding the work pilgrims outside of the city before the Tyranids could destroy them. How you aided in the discovery of the traitor Grant Philetus, and how he had been warped by the horrible Xenos creatures you found inside the Javar gates, and your defense of Mount Sif against the Tau instigators. And Sister Piety even steps forward and says that she believes her entire sisterhood would have perished in the defense of the mountain if you had not aided in their defense of it. And they go on for quite some time lauding you and telling the absolute truth to the best of the ability. They even go into some details that members of the Inquisition would deem classified to show your purity and truth of heart, and it becomes very obvious that this was definitely a witness called upon by Carmelius, and it's clear Stern tries to trip them up at every point, but Carmelius does her best to bring the line of questioning back into the light of truth again, and Huron looks impassive the entire time, but nods a few times when the obvious truth is spoken, and after a while they're returned to their seats again. So the day's deliberations went on for quite some time, and it's obvious no conclusion has really been reached. And at the end of it, you guys are called away again, and this session ends. And you guys are sent back to your cells again.
Oh.
Yeah. So you thought the session was over, yeah.
I was like, and now the session ends. Oh.
This mass has ended. Go in peace.
So something interesting happens during the middle of the night.
The demons appear.
So as you guys are coming back, are left in your cell, and you're fed food again, while servitors and serfs bring you foods and chains of clothes and everything else, you guys are discussing between yourselves of the trial and how allies and enemies of old have come back to haunt you or speak well of you again. And then finally, as you guys are saying your evening prayers to the Emperor and getting ready to take off your power armor and everything else, a warning klaxon starts to resound through the Watch Fortress area. And so you hear the Vox Hailers voice boom out from Laud Hailers in the corridors and inside your room, ordering all brothers of the Deathwatch to prepare battle stations, and that an unknown Xenos force of some kind has infiltrated the fortress. And they are believed to be on the engineering section of the ship of the Watch Fortress, and everyone is to beat immediately to battle stations. So you guys are already geared and powered up inside your armor. So if you rush, you could probably be the first people to arrive to whatever this infiltration is.
We should.
Are we not locked in? Or...
Yep. So no, you're not locked in. You guys can leave when you want, but this should be an impossible incursion. You see, this is like surprising to everyone. Watch Fortress Ariok is an impenetrable bastion of the Deathwatch power in the Jericho Reach. Its innumerable pentagrammic wards and secrecy of its location make it one of the most highly secure places in the Imperium. How then was any threat at all able to penetrate the holdfast is something of a mystery to you guys. So this is clearly, something strange going on.
Right. Evan Grave.
You play Evan Grave.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you move through the Watch Fortress, you discover that it is a hive of sudden and furious activity. Squads of Deathwatch Space Marines perform sweeps through corridors, and armored chapter serfs set up weapon emplacements and seal off compartments, while orders bark and sirens wail from the station's Laud Hailers. The closer to the forge you get, you find evidence of armed struggle. Here and there, corridor walls are scored with blast marks or pocketed where bolters missed their marks. You also come across the occasional dead chapter serf in a pool of his own blood. Once you reach the hall of the Forge Master's sanctum itself, you hear the noise of pitched battle and the hoarse shouts of Forge Master Greyweaver. Upon entering the Forge Master's sanctum, you are met with a truly astounding sight. The entire place is in shambles. Machinery, forge work, and forge works are racked by fighting, The floor is littered with dead chapter serfs and a few dead or dying space marines, and some blasted burning Tau stealth suits. The floor is slick with the mingled blood of serfs, Adeptus Astartes, and Xenos, and the air is thick with the smell of burning flesh and the bright, acrid smell of energy weapons. In one corner of the chamber, Forge Master Grey Reaver and 2 beleaguered Tech Marines hold off a mixed group of Tau and what appears to be the Ganatar, the strange Xenos creatures. Behind the Xenos infiltrators, a gaping tear in reality fluctuates, bound by contorting bolts of dark energy to the strange artifact you returned from Eleusis. Even as you watch more Tau emerge from the Dark Gate as the Space Marines approach, you must act quickly to contain this situation. Okay. So this should load it up. I hope everyone's here.
Is So's back with us, or?
Yep.
Alright.
He was already in the engineering and was making his way there. Let me get you guys.
We'll take him. Does anyone want to play Solomon? If not, I'll take him as well.
Guess you're taking Solomon.
Alright, fine with me.
My token is there.
Yeah, I'm getting it for you. There you go.
There we go.
So you'd be at the back. Solomon would be there. Easton would be like probably there. I'm ordering you guys based upon what you normally work with. All right. So feel free to roll initiative.
Alright, is So's back just +1?
Yep.
Alright.
Oh, look at that fine one I rolled.
So's back would get a 9. A 19 initiative dreadnought, that would be something to see. Solomon.
Hey, it's one of those things again.
What
From
things?
the aliens list
Yeah.
piece of paper we had.
Yeah, it's the Ganathar.
Oh, I love it.
These are the strange things you guys are hunting that the Tau seem committed to releasing for some reason.
Strange shitting clockwork machine.
Shifting.
Just always looks like shitting to me.
God damn it, I can't have nice things because of you guys. Yeah, let me roll all these guys' initiative.
So glad that the kill team is prepared for this. Fucking Uriel, Sarlacc and all.
You roll
What?
low or something?
6, 7, 7.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry, all's just keeping up with tradition. Uriel and Sarlacc. Shame on you.
Okay, so Kuro, you come through here and everything is chaos. There's machinery wrecked all over the place. There's the clockwork machine in the middle has opened a rift in the warp, which is spewing out Xenos of all descriptions. Your turn.
Yeah, hold
And
on.
we will cue the combat music. If I can find it.
I wasn't here last time you fought the Ganathar. What type of abilities does it have, if you guys can remember?
I don't remember.
Bill, Chris?
Psychic?
Alright.
Yeah, they do psychic shit. That's
Yeah,
about as
yeah.
much as these guys remember, I guess.
Alright, okay. So I charged.
Actually, there's some tests that might be interesting that could help you with that. Give me a sec. You guys can make a flat awareness test or an ordinary +10 Forbidden Lore Xenos test to notice some strange things about this fight. So flat awareness, which is +20 for you guys actually because you're wearing your armor and you have heightened senses. Ooh, it's actually +30, or you can make a +10 Forbidden Lore Xenos test, your choice.
Yeah, plus 30 awareness. It sounds pretty good to me.
It's 20 for us.
20 for you. It's 30 for Ooh, yeah.
Buzz a Space Wolf, so he gets
Yeah,
bonuses.
he gets extra because he's a Space Wolf.
I see everything.
Okay, so anyone who passes this test, you notice something strange about the Tau that in the way that they fight. It suggests that the Tau may not be masters of their own actions. So take that as you will. All right.
So yeah, Bulgath will charge the closest scanner far.
Okay.
Now I need to remember all my goddamn benefits. Does it have a size modifier?
Nope.
Uh,
We'll
ah,
do some combat
I
music.
can't, I can't quite remember, but I think those things tried to dominate someone last time.
yeah.
They did
charge.
indeed.
I'm at like a +30, so I can't fail. I'm at more than that, but yeah.
Crafted.
Okay, so I think he's gonna try and let me see what these can do. Okay, he's gonna try and dodge you.
Oh.
For all 20 would stop lagging. Okay, he manages to dodge you by 0.1.
Cool.
Okay. Who has more agility, Marnius or Solomon?
Solomon has 53.
How much agility, Marnius?
41.
Okay, yep. So it's Solomon goes first.
Alright, Solomon will draw his plasma gun. He will half aim single shot, so that's a +20, right?
Yep.
At the clockwork machine.
All right.
Does that have a size modifier?
Yep. It's -20.
Oh.
Okay, so you blast off a few shots, and a shield goes up around it.
Alright.
He semi-autoed it, right?
Single shot. Or 1. Or 100.
So no, the shield does not go off. So roll damage.
Plasma gun, that's the wrong goddamn character sheet. Give me a second. There you go.
Yeah. New music. Let's go with this one.
Is this a Xenos?
Nope. So that is actually enough to destroy the shifting clockwork device.
Cool.
So it slams to the ground, and a wrecked ball of plasma-infused fire. And the lightning coming out of the machine dies with it, and the warp portal begins to fit until it disappears. That was a good shot. Marnius, now it is your turn.
Alright, where do the shield seems to be coming from?
The shield was only around the machine, so
So the stealth drones.
stealth marker drones just mark people that make them easier for the Tau to hit.
Well, I'll go for the Tau with the heavy boulder.
Mhm.
So, what's the bonus for full armor?
At short range, it's +20. But Tau stealth suits have a thing called passive stealth, so you get a negative to hit them. Let me just look up what it is again.
Okay.
It's in the different book. The run I'm on.
Second we down one, we should probably nom on it a little bit.
Yeah, let me look for it. In passive mode, all tests of any sort to detect the stealth suit and any ballistic tests to hit the stealth suit suffer a -10 penalty. Okay?
Alright. That's 5 degrees then.
Yeah.
Which one was you shooting at, by the way?
The Tau.
Which one? Like the actual, this guy. There's a lot of that.
I figured they were horde, the stealth suits.
No, the Tau stealth suits are not a horde, no.
I guess just the closest one then.
Okay, so the closest guy dodges 3 of your hits, so you got 5.5, right?
Yep.
So that makes it 6, but you have bolter assault or bolter drill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bolter drill. So that makes it 7. So he dodges 3 of your 7, so 4 damage rolls.
Right. Oops, sorry.
Ooh.
That was the wrong weapon.
So, yeah, I think that's last damage.
Yeah.
Last cannon, sorry.
Sorry, here you go.
Last cannon.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just.
You didn't realize I had this.
And 2 Righteous Furies.
Just one.
No, it's double.
No, you keep that. It's only one damage roll that you count, since you keep the highest one.
Right.
You drop the lowest.
So, let me see. You don't need to confirm because your Space Marines are Deathwatch Space Marines that auto confirm against Xenos.
Right.
Okay, so his toughness is 4, his armor is 8, you pen 5, so he's left with 7. So it's 7 from each of them. So it is 17 for the first one, I think. Yeah.
18.
Then, alright, 18. Sorry. Then it is 14 for the next one. Then it is 12. Yeah, he's gonna die. So he dies somewhere around the third one. Alright. Histan, your turn.
Yes, I will take a burst into that guy here.
Alright.
How much minus is it again?
Minus 10 to shoot Tau stealth suits while they're passive stealth mode.
So it's just flat for me.
Okay, he tries to dodge. And he dodges.
How many?
How
It's
many you did?
3.
Yeah, okay. He dodges 4 then. So he dodges everything.